I'm Jody Miller. I'm the Deputy Director for the Indiana Addiction Issues Coalition, and I've been on the ICN team for a while. And I'm filling in for Kimbra today. She is out of town and unavailable, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to start out by introducing Katie Rice. She's with the Scott County Partnership. She is the newest member to our team. And Bobby, who was with us before, has taken a new position working in the high school, and Katie has joined our team. So welcome, Katie, and she'll have some more information to share a little bit later, some call to action for joining the ICN. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Next, I want to go ahead and introduce our presenter, Kim Winkle. And Kim is the director for the Coalition for Drug-Free Batesville in Batesville, Indiana, and is part of the CADCA Coalition Development Team. She has over 20 years of experience in coalition development, specifically focusing on substance abuse prevention. Ms. Winkle holds a master's degree in leadership development from St. Mary of the Woods College. Over the years, Kim has held a variety of positions working with coalitions, both locally, regionally, and statewide. Her experience is concentrated on coaching both drug-free community grantees as well as community coalitions. Kim is driven by assisting coalitions in creating community-wide change to improve their community, one change at a time. She enjoys seeing people come together to work on improving their community by following on a common goal. So we are very grateful to have you here today, Kim. So feel free to go ahead and get started, and we can answer any questions afterwards that Kim can. And if you do have some questions, you can also put those in the chat.
Thank you very much, Jody. I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Is it up?
Yep.
Perfect.
Very good.
Good to go.
So thank you for that introduction. So as Jody said, my name is Kim Winkle, and I come to you today from Batesville, Indiana. So I am the director of the coalition here in Batesville, and we are a drug-free community grantee, and we are just getting ready to start our 8th year. So we have 3 more years of funding left. So we are focusing 100% on sustainability at this point. And I am here today to speak with you about engaging those hard to reach sectors. As Jody mentioned, if you have any questions throughout, just please let us know so that I can, so that we can go back and answer those at the end. So the official definition of engage is to occupy, attract, or involve. And then the second piece to the definition is to participate or become involved in. I think this is so important because as a coalition grows and becomes more and more engaged in the community overall, we need higher levels of engagement from our members. You know, and I have been guilty of it too. You know, you belong to other groups or you belong to coalitions. You're like, oh yeah, I'm a member of that. And at the same time, when you sit down and really think, what constitutes being a member? Is it just going to the meeting, or is it being truly engaged in the process of that group, that organization, and that coalition? So to be engaged truly means a lot more than just going and sitting around that table once a month or every other month, however often your coalition meets. It truly means, you know, working for the end goal of the coalition, whatever that may be. One quote or comment that I say a lot is local people solve local problems. So what we know is the more community members from our county or our community that we can get involved and interested in our mission, the more likely we're going to solve some of our local problems and issues that we are challenged with currently. So if I were to go to Northwest Indiana, I truly don't know the landscape up there. I don't know what's going on in each of those communities and each of those counties. So for me to go into another community and try to, help them solve the challenges that they're dealing with, it's going to be a little bit more challenging because I'm not from that community. I'm not that local person. So by bringing local people together, we can truly solve some of those local problems because those community members truly know the community. They know who to bring together. They know, what resources are available, and they know what the challenges are in the community because even though we may be, close to another community and we may be both targeting nicotine due to the vaping epidemic, the way that another community is targeting it may look and addressing it may look very different because maybe they're tasked with, they're seeing youth using at their local parks where maybe we are seeing youth using at the schools. So the way that we each address them may look different. So I just really like that saying that local people solve local problems because that's really true, especially when it comes to community coalition work. So as many of you know, the Drug Free Community Grant program that is a federally funded program has 12 sectors that they encourage us as coalitions to have at the table. And in fact, I guess I shouldn't use the word encourage. It's a requirement. So I would say they mandate, though these 12 sectors to be involved in one way or another. I think the most important, there's a couple important things to note here. First of all, this is not a comprehensive list, obviously. There are other groups and other entities that we would definitely want to have on our coalitions locally. And again, that may look different depending which community you're coming from. But so that's the one point that I would like to make. And then the other point is, you don't necessarily just need one parent or one school representative. Truly, bring together the group that represents your community. So if you have 3 school corporations in your community, you probably should have a representative from each of those schools or each of those districts because you want to make sure that each of those schools are represented equally. You may not have that initially, and you may not have that at this point right now, but that would be what I would strive to do long term. And again, law enforcement, that's another, area that many of us have more than one law enforcement agency serving our community. And so again, getting representative from a variety of those law enforcement agencies can really help strengthen us and really help build the case, to enable us to get the work done. So at this time, I'm actually going to ask you guys in the chat, besides these 12 sectors, what are some other sectors that you guys currently have at the table, when you guys get together as a coalition? Or what other sectors do you have engaged? So maybe they don't come to your meeting every month, but that if you would reach out to this sector or this person representing this sector, that they would be there. So if you want to in the chat, just know. Okay, so Don put treatment and recovery, and that's definitely true. I know we list our treatment and recovery person under our substance abuse organizations. Government has been added to our sectors, so that's great, Diana. Tim put persons in recovery. I really think that is vital to have persons in recovery for many reasons. First of all, they have that lived experience. Second of all, as we are developing, whether it's a media campaign, whether it's information to go out to students, whether it's a community-wide information sheet or things that we want to post, on our social media, we want to make sure that we're using the right terminology. I work with some other trainers at CADCA, and one of them share a story about, a person joined their coalition and came for the first or second time and started talking about addicts. And she said she could definitely see those who are in recovery almost, their whole demeanor shifted, because obviously that's not the term we use now. And again, like she said, nothing against that person was using that verbiage because he or she didn't know better. But, so definitely want those persons in recovery to, be at the table to not only assist us in understanding, their lived experience, but also helping us with some of that verbiage and how to communicate, to the larger community. So definitely those are, some other groups to have involved. I know that to me is one of the biggest ones, the person's in recovery. Okay, so for some reason, this is not advancing now. There we go. So what we do is that nationwide, as coalitions who are drug-free community grantees, enter their data and information into our reporting forms, we know that these 5 sectors are those 5 sectors that have the least engagement. Doesn't surprise me necessarily because, unfortunately, it is what it is, but that is data that we do know. So the business sector, we know, is many times missing from the coalition. Media sometimes can be a challenging one. Religious and fraternal organizations, civic volunteer organizations, and then substance abuse organizations are. So those are the 5 that we see having less engagement than those other 7 that have that higher level of engagement. So now I want to shift back to the chat box and see, have you guys share with me a little bit, who are those sectors or what are those sectors that you are currently challenged with getting to the table? That's really what I want to spend, some time on. If you guys have the business people at the table, we don't need them there. We don't need to discuss the business community. So I see faith, minority populations, and churches. Faith came back up. I'll give you guys just a few more seconds to see if anyone else has any other sectors that they're currently challenged with getting to the table. Nonprofits, the LGBTQ, media and business. Sorry, I'm just taking some notes so I make sure I don't miss any of these. And okay. Thank you for your feedback on that, because that's going to kind of guide a little bit of what I talk about in the next few slides. For some reason. So some thoughts and ideas about getting specific sectors to the table. So I'm going to specifically focus on those that were mentioned in the last few groups that, provided information on the chat as far as who they. Yeah, I'm not sure. We can hear background. I don't know if everyone could mute themselves, please. Thank you. I think we got it. Awesome. So first of all, I want to talk about, okay, and then Tim also mentioned parents, so I'll talk about that as well a little bit. And so first of all, let's talk about the faith sector, and that can be a very challenging one. So definitely if anyone has, a great way that they have the faith sector involved, please, put that in the chat, any ideas and thoughts as well. So one thing that we did here locally, and I know several of the communities in our region down here have done, is we reached out to our ministerial association. So I don't know if that's a typical group that meets in many communities across our state or not, but we have a local, it's called the Batesville Area Ministerial Association. So we have I'm going to say about a dozen ministers that come together once a month and discuss challenges and successes that they're having, just as, that faith-based group. So they actually, we've been very fortunate and very blessed. We have had a representative from that group at our table since the beginning when we started in 2012. And Tim mentioned that that's also a great resource for us. So like I said, we have shifted. So we've had different representatives, but every time a minister or one of those faith-based people have left, whether moving out of the area or located, they have always ensured that we have another representative that comes in. It's a great way for us to get information to the larger faith-based community because that person is representing that entire group. We also have a parochial school, so we have a Catholic school in our community, both K through 8 as well as a high school. So we again have a great working relationship with both of those entities as well. So the biggest thing for me to say is, if you have a ministerial association or if you have a group of faith-based leaders to get together, definitely reach out to them. Or if you don't, first of all, the best place to start is to ask everyone who sits around the table, do you have a contact or a relationship at all with anyone in the faith-based community, whether that's my own minister, whether that's a youth minister that maybe I work with on another group, maybe I sit on a board with another minister, or I also think it's important, it doesn't have to be the minister or the priest themselves. It truly is someone that's on the church board or someone that has a leadership role at that church. I mentioned the youth pastor many times, especially these larger churches have youth ministers, and that may be a great connection to have. So those are a few thoughts about the faith-based community. I know media was mentioned, and in these smaller communities, and I can speak from our community, we had an amazing local newspaper that went out of business during the pandemic. And, they had a representative that came religiously to our coalition meeting and was very involved, sat on our leadership team. And so, we lost that. So we don't currently have someone that attends every month. However, I'm going to say that we have 2 different media folks that are truly engaged in our coalition. One is from our local radio station, and although she can't be at the table, she still gets our meeting minutes and she gets our agenda and all the information I send out to the meeting every month. And she is always reaching out saying, hey, I see you guys have National Night out coming up. Do you want to do an interview before that? Do you want to do any advertising with that? We also have a new local newspaper. They're not housed here in our community, but it's printed for our community specifically. And the advertising representative from that entity also has been wonderful. Although she can't attend the meetings, she's always checking in and seeing what we have going on, what they can have their reporters report on, and how they can, be involved. So it may not be that they're at the table every month, but just making sure that they're in the know and that they're willing to help with it. Another group that I know many coalitions work with is like the high school communications class. I know coalitions that have worked with them to have them do videos or, graphic design work for them. So it may not be that traditional media we think about. However, it's still, they're still helping us get the information out about our coalition. And so I'm looking in the chat, I see, do those media people getting minutes count as coalition members on the CCP? So and I can't speak for the CCP, I can speak for the Drug Free Community Grant. we do count them as coalition members. They are engaged, they know what's going on, they know what initiatives we're working on. And although they can't be at that meeting every month, they are still truly engaged with our coalition. So we do count them as a coalition member for us. And then also the business sector, I think, kind of right there with the media, definitely, if you have a larger business, to get them involved is a great way. We have our larger employers that came to the table when they started realizing that many of their new hires were failing the drug screens. And so they came to the table. So as a group, we could work on what changes we can make so that that stops happening. They were investing all this money in this hiring process. So, they would interview the person would have qualifications, they would do all the paperwork, they would, give them a job offer. And then when they came in to sign all their paperwork and do the drug screen, they would fail the drug test and then have to go back to square one with hiring another person. So that is one way that we have involved the businesses and got them to the table, is really just, working with them with, employees that have substance use issues, as well as family members. We have one entity that has, just made some huge strides in, so if mom or dad need to take the afternoon off to take their child to treatment, or, they need to, address something going on in the home around substance use, they give them that time. So as a group, we just have to figure out, which businesses are truly invested and bought into that and are, willing to work with us. We have other businesses that are just supporters, that will, if we reach out and say we're having this event, they will give us a donation or they will sponsor the event. So I think, with businesses, there's all levels of ways to be engaged and involved. And so, and I know I talked about larger businesses, but I also think the smaller ones are also vital. And so one thing that I know we are is a member of our Chamber of Commerce. So we are able, to get information in the chamber newsletters if we have upcoming trainings and different things going on. So obviously at that point, we're reaching all the members of the chamber. And then we do have a representative from the chamber that actually sits on our coalition and attends our meetings. So, if we talk about something coming up, then we can share that with that larger business community. Other nonprofits, and that kind of surprises me. I'm not sure who put that in there. That is one area I feel of many coalitions have a lot of nonprofits that do come, especially if they have a similar vision or mission, because, it's one of those things like I'll take care of you if you take care of me and vice versa. So, I would just say, definitely just continue to nurture those relationships and build on those. And then also the LGBTQ and minority populations were mentioned. And definitely, if you have a pocket of, Latinos in your community, you definitely want them represented at your table, because you want to make sure whatever you're putting out to the general community is also going to be useful to them. So it may be, that we need to, is there an association or is there a group that gets together? Again, in our community, we have a Hispanic advisory board, and they work a lot, to do they do a large Hispanic health fair. They do a big feast in our park. Again, just so not only that population can come together, but also we as general community members can become more understanding and knowledgeable about their, their upbringing and their culture and what's going on. So as you see different, groups sponsoring those types of events and activities, I encourage you to get involved and go to them, because many times, they're not going to reach out to you, but if they can see us as coalitions coming to them, then all of a sudden they're more likely to want to be involved and get involved with the work that we're doing. So I'm going to go on. I know I only have a few more minutes, and for some reason, this silly. I want to make sure I didn't. Yeah, I wanted to just make sure it didn't go too far. So just some last minute points that I would like to make is, as you are moving ahead with your coalition work, always allow data to drive the process. Many years ago, obviously, the substances we were targeting were different. So allow that data to drive the process. Whatever substances the youth are using, the community is using, let that data drive the process to really drive the work. Also meet them where they are, and I could talk about this probably for 3 hours now, since we've experienced COVID for the last year and a half. We had to really step back and make those determinations. How were we going to meet? How often were we going to come together? We are very blessed in our community to have some very key players on our leadership team. However, when the pandemic hit, that took those key leaders away from us. Our mayor sits on our leadership team. Well, our mayor had a lot more going on than worrying about coming to a coalition meeting at that point. We have our superintendent of schools that sits on our leadership team. Obviously, they were going virtual for the first time in history. And so, he was not as worried about the coalition at that point. And we understand that and meet them where they were. And so that is one thing I feel like that many of us have did over the last 18 months and really figured that out, and when I could get a sit down meeting with the mayor or with the superintendent or with our hospital representative, I would just go and have coffee with them for 30 minutes and just, check in on them, how they were doing, how the school was doing, how the hospital overall was doing, and just, catch them up with a coalition. So maybe they couldn't be as involved during that time, but, really meeting them where they were and being flexible with when they did have some time to give. Also pay attention to the small things. I can't say it enough. There was a chair of a coalition that I worked with several years ago, and she would send a birthday card to every coalition member. And even as adults, I'd be like, oh, what is this? And I think she put a $1 ice cream cone for McDonald's in there. So it was just those little things, or if you see on social media that someone had a birthday or someone had an anniversary or, someone had a grandchild or, they maybe vacation somewhere that you like to vacation, next time you see them, say, oh my gosh, I love going to Destin. How, did you enjoy it? Was that your first time? So just really pay attention to those small things, because I believe the more relationship building we can do, the more engagement and involvement we get. And then I talked a little bit about this already, sitting on boards and attending other meetings. I never miss our city council meeting. I sit on a couple of other boards. So again, showing them that, it's not just about everyone coming to, the coalition table that I, am the director of, but also wanting to show them that I'm engaged in the work that they're doing as well. And many times we can find ways to, come together, and maybe they're working on an initiative and we want to work on the initiative as well. So instead of each of us doing it in our own lanes and in silos, we can come together and bridge that gap. And then also, I would just encourage you to be present. So again, just be aware of what's going on. If there's a huge event in your community, just be there. Not that you have to be there the whole time, but make sure that there is representation from the coalition in some way there. Learn connections. I think that's very important as well. I know one thing that we do is talk about, who is missing from the table. And so, if we have 3 people mention, people who are missing, then the next question is, does anyone have a connection with them that they would be willing to reach out to that person? Because it may not always be myself as the director that reaches out, but it may be someone else. Maybe they went to high school with this person, or maybe they've worked with them previously. And so learn who's connected where and what board your members sit on, because sometimes there's connections that way as well. And definitely have patience. It just takes time. You're not, if you feel like there's 5 people that you really want to bring to the table, if you get 1 or 2 of those people to come to the table, then to me, it's a success and you've done well. And then also, know the WIFM. The WIFM stands for what's in it for me. So, don't just say, can you come to the table? Have a reason that you're inviting them, whether it's because you know that they're very good with graphic design and you're working on that, or whether you're working on a video and you need some assistance with that, or that they work with a specific group that you want to get more involved with. Reach out and make that specific ask, because that's important to do. And I think, so that wrapped it up. So I will look at the chat. I don't know if any other questions came in. I did see that Rhonda had put Celebrate Recovery is definitely a great connection with the faith sector. And you are absolutely right, Rhonda. Unfortunately, we do not have a Celebrate Recovery in our community. Definitely, if you do, that is a great connection to make and to get someone from that team involved with the coalition. Does anyone have any other questions that I could answer?
Hey, Kim, this is Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, great information. I had a question kind of related to, and being, newer in the director position. So if I go to my database of members that I send newsletters to, and that number may be, I think it's probably 240 or something like that. We average, we've been building, but we're averaging maybe 25 to 40 some people that attend a meeting. There's probably another 50 or 60 that are engaged. They just don't make every meeting. So it's probably, so my question is, there's probably 100 and some people that get the newsletter. They're kind of officially listed as members. They've not had involvement for quite a while. One thought is, well, you just leave them in the system. What harm is it doing? They're still getting stuff. But I'm trying to think through, is there a way to maybe, I want to try to, obviously build from the core out and get new people, but I don't know if I should even be concerned with that, or if maybe there'd be a neat way to try to re-engage those folks, or.
Yeah, so different coalitions think differently about that. Some, like you said, will say, you know what, leave them on there. What does it hurt? What we do is, so we have people sign in at the meeting when they come in. So we have a membership roster, and they, initial by their name for each month. So you can see when they're, when they have attended. If we have someone that hasn't attended for an entire year, I reach out to them and just say, you know what, thank you so much for the time that you did serve on the coalition. Are you still interested? Or, would you like me, us to remove your name from the from the membership at this time? So that's how we do it, because I feel if someone hasn't been to the table in a year, then more than likely, has their job changed, or, did they relocate, or, just their situation, has changed that they're not interested. So that's how I do it. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but, definitely those personal reach outs, at a certain point, whether that's 6 months, whether that's a year, is what I would encourage you to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. Great suggestion. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Is there any other questions for Kim? Great information, Kim. Thank you. Go ahead.
It's me, it's Ellie.
Oh, hi, Al.
I was just thinking, on what Tim was saying, that, they haven't been there for a long time. And you're right, Kim, they may not be there anymore or they have changed jobs, but maybe a good idea also to say, is there anyone else who we should be, involving
Definitely. And
in
if
your
you
group?
know,
Yeah.
if you know someone's leaving their position or their organization or their business, that is a great idea, and that's one thing that somehow we've been very fortunate with the Ministerial Association. I think we're on our third representative, but every time someone gets ready to leave, they work with the group to find their own replacement, and in the perfect coalition world, everyone would find their own replacement, right? But I absolutely agree. We understand that you may not be able to come, but is there someone else that may be, that you could recommend or that you think would, be interested in being part of the coalition? Definitely, that's a great idea.
Very great information, Kim. Thank you so much for sharing with us today and just engaging conversation. I think that's really what we're trying to all do is get more people involved and get more engagement and share what we're doing. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Up next on the agenda is the ICJI. Looks like Sadia is here. If you want to give an update, Sadia.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice presentation, Kim. I really liked it. Very helpful information. So yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so I have only 3 things on list today. First, I'm going to give you a quick update about quarterly reports. So far, 81 counties have submitted second quarterly reports. Thank you to those who submitted their reports on time. Those who have not submitted their reports must have received an email about late submission. Please ensure that you will submit your report within the time written in an email. You will receive a feedback from your designated program manager in the next few weeks. Second, the division manual review is in final stages and it will be made available to you all in mid-November. Third, you guys must have received an email from us about Department of Mental Health in Addiction recent grant. So basically, DMHA have received funding through the Substance Abuse and Prevention Treatment Block Grant Program. The purpose of this grant is to increase substance use prevention services to the population that have been impacted by COVID-19. The funding is available to organizations that have already developed a relationship with population that include Black, Indigenous, people of color, and member of LGBT community. So if you are a coalition that is looking for funding in this specific area, this is a good grant. And Kim, you said that your coalition have a specific Hispanic advisory board. So, like your presentation was actually really nice in terms of actually connecting it to this grant. So yes, if your coalition is looking for the program that can serve a specific population, please consider applying to this grant. It's an amazing. And that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Sadia. Is there any questions for Sadia? All right. Well, next we're going to do a little update here from the ICN team. And Katie, if you would like to go ahead and just share with us some call to action steps that we have on the agenda.
All right, just a second. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Katie Rice. I'm currently a staff member at the Scott County Partnership, running substance abuse prevention programming for the county. I recently took over for Bobby Foster, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me. Recently, the admin team has begun planning for 2022's webinars, but we wanted to get all of your feedback on what you want to hear and what you want to learn. So I've posted a conversation on the Coalition Network website where you can reply with any topics or speakers that you would like for us to consider or prioritize. If you have any initiatives that you might need some more information about, this would be a great opportunity to get tailored webinars. We want these to be as helpful for you as possible. If you do have to log into the network website to access the conversations. If you do not have a login, please reach out to info@indianacoalitionnetwork.org to join the network and get started. I'll go ahead and post the email and the link to the conversation in the chat now. And that's all I have to update, but please definitely utilize this conversation feature because it will be really helpful for us and really helpful for you too.
All right, thank you, Katie, for that information. And we're just going to encourage everyone to get engaged and get on and do some call to action with the conversations, and let us know what you want to talk about, what you want to learn about, if you want to be a speaker, if you know some speakers, or if you need to get set up with a login as far as a membership, or if you know some other coalitions that you know like to join, please share with us that also. So does anyone have any questions at all for us? We're kind of coming up to the end of our time here this morning, or I guess this afternoon.
Jody?
But is there,
Jody, you want to talk about our next call?
Okay, yeah,
upcoming-
thank
yeah.
you, Al. Yeah, we have a couple date changes coming up for November and December. So just make a note, we'll be sending out an email with that information. But November, we will be meeting on Wednesday, the 17th, same time. And in December, we will be meeting on Wednesday, the 15th, due to the holidays. So lots of fun things to look forward to. And please reach out to us and share with us some information. And thanks for joining us today.